Hello everybody, this is Jan for Chess24 and welcome to another session of Banter Blitz. I think you know the drill by now. If you're a premium member, challenge me to a game of 3 or 5 minutes and maybe we'll play, hopefully I'll win and I'll talk about it. That's pretty much it, so let's go down to... I can't speak, that's always my problem with this Banter Blitz. I'm not that good at Blitz, but mainly the speaking gives me trouble. Anyway, we thankfully have some challenges and I'm planning to accept one of them. So let's get started immediately and go to Mr. Dover Beach. He was the lowest on the list as far as I can tell. And here we are. I have the black pieces. He plays 1 c4, which is an unfair move. I never know what to do. I'll go with g6 for this game. This is a move a lot of Grunfeld players like to use when after knight c3 the point is c5. There's a move order Fischer used to play. White has a choice. He can either play this double fianchetto, no, it's fianchetto stuff with g3, or play knight f3, but then bishop g7. Black at least stopped d4, if that makes any sense. Probably doesn't. I don't have time to go into opening details. This is the, what's it called, symmetrical English, which I've played a couple games. I think black is fine. Obviously white is fine. He's a tempo up in a symmetrical position. But I have my own little pet system with d6 followed by bishop f5, which I picked up from, I think, Peter Heine Nielsen. He played it in the Bundesliga game and looked very sensible to me. The plan was to go queen d7 and then bishop h3 as quickly as possible, exchange his bishop. And it seemed like a good idea, and it looked to me like black gets pretty decent play here. We shall see what Dover Beach is up to. Is Dover Beach the guy who's been whining for months that he never gets to play? I think he also wrote that he camped out for 3 hours, and he was the lowest on the list, so finally we meet Mr. Dover Beach. d3, queen d7. Yeah, my plan is to go bishop h3 and then get the pieces out, knight f6, rook c8. I think knight d5 is a move for white here. Or rook e1. Yeah, I think someone played this rook e1 stuff against me. The good thing about it is I then analyze my game and I forget absolutely everything. So I have no clue how I was supposed to react to rook e1. The idea is that now bishop h3 can be met with bishop h1. I had it in a tournament game. I recall I won that game, but I wasn't that happy with my position. I think I went for some bishop h3 stuff in that game quite quickly. By the way, on a side note, e4 is never a good move here for white because it weakens the center a bit too much. Now I'm always concerned about knight g5, so I'm not sure I have to be. But I'll go h6 anyway, just to stop them. I think we're still following this game I once played, where it's a bit tricky for black. This bishop on h3 indicates one should play for an attack, but it's not so easy to get in practice. I think I'll castle and then try to scare him with something like queen f5, intending maybe queen h5 and knight g4. Problem is my pieces could get stuck a little bit on the king side while white tries to make progress on the queen side with rook b1, b4, stuff like that. e3 also looks like a sensible move. I'll castle. There's one thing I learned from all these Banter Blitz sessions is that playing quickly is quite important in Blitz, especially if you talk about it a lot, so I am ahead on the clock, which already makes me feel very warm and happy. He goes d4, trying to change the structure. Interesting. How do we react to that? I could take on d4, but it doesn't feel right somehow. Or I could ignore it. It's more of a King's Indian g3 structure now, where white has lost some time, but that's not the end of the world. I will ignore it and play rook c8, hinting at cd4. I think that my pieces are kind of well equipped to meet d5 with knight a5 and then a6, b5 stuff, even though arguably the rook is not ideal on c8 for that. And dc, dc looks like it's actually slightly more pleasant for me because he locked in his own bishop on, what's the square called? c1. Rook b1, asking for bishop f5. I don't think I can resist that temptation, just to annoy him. Rook a1 is not a pleasant move to make, and if e4, c takes d4, at least things get a little messy. e4, I could also go bishop g4 and pretend I expertly provoked e4 to put more pressure on the d4 square. Not quite sure which one I'm going to go. They both look decent. Let's calculate. e4, cd, ef5, dc3, fg6. Nah, it looks like I'm weakening in my king a bit too much. I think I'll actually go for this bishop g4 and then try to keep a straight face, that it was all part of my grandmasterly plan. Now d5, of course I should put this knight on d4, not on a5 anymore. Nothing much has happened yet. f3 is still protected, so I don't have any big threats. But this knight is a bit of a pain on d4, and it's not so easy to get rid of. At least it's going to cost him the 2 bishops. I will play the subtle move for pretending to be subtle. Knight h7, maybe threatening some knight g5, some f5s. He probably will take on d4, and then I have the option of taking back with the bishop, at least claiming the bishop pair. I could also take with the pawn and hope to win a pawn on c4. Maybe I'll do that. I get distracted easily by new moves, and I might just make them. I'm a product of the times. We get distracted by everything all the time. cd4. Yeah, knight b5, rook c4 looks good for me. Knight e2 is what I would expect. Then rook takes c4. Maybe b3, trying to reclaim that pawn on d4. But it doesn't look easy to do. Yeah, knight b5, rook c4. I don't see what the idea is. To take on a7, the knight would be very, very offside. b3, that's the idea. Same idea. And then to take on d4, fair enough. Where do we put the rook? Probably just back to c8. I don't really see anything better. Knight a7 is still out of the question because of rook a8. And after knight b d4, something should be there, even though I don't see it. Knight g5, but then you can unpin with queen d3, and I haven't made a lot of progress. Bishop d4, queen d4 is also nothing special. Yeah, maybe white is still doing all right. Don't see anything better than knight g5. So far, Dover Beach is hanging in there, in spite of all this great pressure I'm applying. Let's see though, queen d3, what can I do? Knight f3, bishop f3, bishop f3, bishop f3, then rook c3. Slightly better for me, but I'm not that much better though. Still, I'll take it. What are you gonna do? I have a feeling I missed like a way to win a piece in 2 moves, but I couldn't see it. Bishop f3, yeah, bishop d4 is nothing because of bishop g4. Well, it wins a pawn actually. Bishop g4, bishop f2. Once again, you see my very structured thought process. But a pawn is a pawn, so I'll take that. My original intention was to take and then go rook c3. But this does look better. Pre-move. Let's check with the chat. If anybody can hear or see me. It's exciting. It's the first time I'm trying to do this stuff in the new studio, all on the same computer. I'm sure my voice will sound more robotic than ever, and I will forget to switch screens to the correct resolution about 18 times during the show. But else, yeah, we're all gonna have a blast. Queen d4, it's attacking my pawn on a7. Not sure he could take it, but why take the chance? I'll keep it alive, play b6. Now what I want to do is go rook fc8, then rook c2, or hope that something drops. I'm a pawn up and the white king is kind of weak. Plays rook h1, intending to go h3. Does that bother me? Not that much, no. And I'm ahead on time, which once again gives me the chance to use my grandmasterly flagging skills, but the position is pretty good as well in my defense. Just take another pawn. And Dover Beach resigns. Good game, Dover Beach. Yeah, the setup is tricky. I'm not sure what went wrong. I wasn't impressed with the e3 d4 plan. I think something a3 b4 should be fine. Stalin is saying I shouldn't be so self-conscious. It's all an act. Like self-consciousness is the most subtle form of arrogance. Anyway, let's find a new opponent. Challenges. Who we got? It's tough to scroll. Here we got Mr. JVG. Let's see if he's around. Why am I black every game? Really unfair. Bitrick is saying, there's a few seconds delay. Yeah, what are you gonna do? Might be a quality thing, we'll sort it out. But for now, if anybody can hear or see me at all, I'm already happy, since this is the pilot show with the new setup. Looks like JVG is not around, so I'm gonna have to go find a new opponent. I'll start my usual countdown. They always make a move after I count until 5. 5, 4, 3, 2. There we go. At 2 already. D4. What do I do? I never played the French, so I can't go E6 because he could go E4. I'll play D5. It's boring, but that's what I do. D5, E6, get the pieces out. Try to do something. Knight C3, Knight F6. This is a line I've looked at a bit recently, this CD, ED. I think we've had it in previous Banter Blitzes. This used to be considered bad for black or unpleasant for ages because of the simple E3, Queen C2 stuff. But after E3, Bishop F5 is holding up well. And after Queen C2, there is this trendy setup with Bishop E7 and Knight H5. But I don't like it. I got my own weird setup with Bishop G4, trying to go Bishop H5, Bishop G6. Which I'm not sure how great that is. But I kind of like it. It's easy to play. Get the bishop out, put it on G6, exchange it for something, and take it from there. Have I played this line in like 5 Banter Blitz games already? I have a feeling I've played this before. Anyway, I have this subtle plan to put the bishop here and exchange it, because it's the bad bishop, as they say, which was on the color of my pawns. So let's get rid of it and hopefully face the future with optimism. Castles, Knight BD7. General in these structures, yeah, without the light square bishops, if I'm allowed to. I was going to say take on D3 and castle. I should be alright, but F3 is very interesting. He's intending to go E4, which could lead to very sharp play after something like castles, E4, takes C5, something along those lines. Messy, but yeah, let's go for it. Safer choice would be bishop takes D3, which also looks fine. But this is intriguing. Castles I want to take, and if pawn takes back C5, that's a typical idea in these positions to fix the white pawn center before it is ready to roll. I would guess E4 might be premature here still, and he should play a preparatory, is that word? Preparatory move, rook A1, rook AD1, something like that, king H1. We'll see what happens. Yeah, rook AD1. Can I still get away with going rook E8, E4 takes C5? Maybe, maybe not. Not sure about rook E8. This F7 square could be a bit loose if I remove the rook. That is a natural move, so let's play it. Now I'm expecting E4. Now it's a lot more tricky for me. After takes C5, E5 is looming, and I'm not sure this ends well for me actually. I was calculating E5 knight to G4, when after bishop E7, queen E7 there's a knight fork on E3. But that didn't happen. Probably no one knows what I was talking about. I'll take on D3 now and see what happens. Position feels around equal, but so far JVG has played very well. He could maybe even claim a small advantage here. I'm not sure. What do I do? Knight F8 looks typical, trying to go to E6. Knight B6 could also be an idea, trying to reach C4. Knight H5 is possible. Many options, but nothing all that exciting. We'll go Knight F8, and then Knight E6. What's going on? Down again? Do we have a problem? Sounds like we're down. I'm sorry, I'm gonna switch to the stay tuned screen. I'll finish playing the game though. Why shouldn't I continue the game? And I might as well be talking about it. We'll go on break in a minute after that. I don't know if anybody can hear me or not. I'll check out the chat. I'm very confused. I'm getting mixed messages here. And the game is still going. I'm going to lose on time trying to figure out if I'm live or not. And also, JVG is playing kind of well, which makes things even tougher. I don't like it when they play well. Still, I should make a move. It's probably not a very good move. Knight G7 intending to go Knight A5, or just Knight D7 trying to exchange. The bishops look like sounder options. Queen B6 is alright against E4, but I can just get hit with Knight A4 when it's not quite clear where I'm going with my queen. Probably go to A5. But I'm not sure. I think JVG is playing well. I'm not sure I'm worse. Probably I'm not, but it's not an easy position to handle. Knight D3, another good move. I'll pretend to have a plan here and that I want to gain some space. He just keeps preparing E4. It's making me question all my deep Bishop G4 repertoire ideas. Still, I should be okay. It's just important not to allow this E4, E5 stuff. There's a lot of classic, whoever did this, probably Botvinnik played this quite a bit. Let's say, a lot of classic Botvinnik games where this pawn steamroller E4, E5, F4 does crush black, and I don't want that to happen. I did study the classics. I recently read all these Kasparov books on his great predecessors and on himself and Karpov. Very interesting stuff. I'd heard of Botvinnik before, but yeah, it was a good read. That's what I'm trying to say. Knight D7. In general, white doesn't really want to exchange pieces here, or so I would think, because black has a little less space, less central control, so exchanging pieces should favor him. But still, nothing too bad has happened. The position should be around equal. The good thing is I'm ahead on the clock, which I like. I've lost a lot of rating on Chess24 the last couple days. I used to be around 2800 most of the time. Now look at me. I'm somewhere at 2683. And JVG is putting pressure. D takes E, he wants to go D5. I'm curious, can I go E3 then? Bishop E3, Bishop C5. D E6, Bishop E3, check, King H1. Let's do it. I'm not so sure it works, frankly, but it does look interesting. This was my deep plan. Bishop C5, Queen C5 is check, so hopefully I'm alive there. And if D takes E6, Bishop takes E3, check. That's what I was worried about then, going somewhere with the king. And yeah, the position is not so easy, because after Rook takes D1, he has this intermediate move. E takes F7, check. So probably what I'm going to do is just play Rook E7. But it does look a bit suspect, I'm going to have to admit. We're both down on time, so it's also time to speed up a little bit. But yeah, I'm worse. I managed to self-pin here. This operation looked exciting, but it might not have been a big success. This knight is quite powerful on E4, threatening lots of annoying things. Ugh, it's really not a very pleasant position. Let's go. Can I go here? I'm blundering Knight F6 in like every line possible. It's hard to make a move. JVG is crushing me. Now Knight D6 looks like it's winning material. Knight D6, and there was Knight C4. Of course, in case I don't win this game, I'll come up with any excuse I can possibly think of. I was distracted by not being sure if the connection was up or down. But now I managed to threaten mate. I like to threaten mate. That confuses him, costs him some time. G4. I missed that, so I'm losing material. Why am I being crushed so badly? But I am ahead on the clock, and I actually have some positional compensation. Probably not enough yet. Queen G2 is a good move. In general, JVG is just playing a fantastic game. Why is this guy only 2058? He's crushing me. But of course I will make use of my flagging skills, which have helped me in many of these grim situations. Not a very convincing game on my part, I'm gonna have to admit. And yeah, JVG, lost on time, still very good game. You outplayed me. What am I gonna say in my defense? I don't know. I won. Let's go to the next challenge. Are we up and running? I'll check with the chat. Sounds like we're up and running. Who's next? Peter ST. No, ptis 2 just jumped in and took away this spot from Peter ST. ptis 2, are you the guy from Twitter? I think there's a guy on Twitter, ptis 2, who always tells me clever stuff. Let's see if that's him. I'll play knight f3. I've gotten a bit gun-shy with the 1 e4s, but in order to spice up these banter blitzes, I think you guys probably want to see something else than knight f3, c4, g3 every game. So I might go for 1 e4 later on. I need more caffeine in my system to muster the courage. ptis 2 around, yeah, there he is. He goes d5. I'll go d4. I was watching this game, I'm not sure, it might still be running. Grishuk against Caruana. I'm always amazed in like how many different spots they manage to go g2, g4 nowadays in these quiet d4 openings. I don't think I've ever done that in my life, but it's probably time. This is the good old Tarrasch defense, where dc5 is the trendy move. Everybody's played g3 here for decades, but dc5 has come to the forefront. I read about it in a book by Ogor and Tirlis, and it's not so easy to play for black. The main move is d4, then after knight a4, bishop c5, and white is slightly better. The problem with knight f6 is supposed to be that I just keep the pawn. I go bishop e3. It's not going to be so easy to reclaim this pawn on c5. So dc5 is a very serious weapon against the Tarrasch. I've played it in a Bundesliga game as well, which I won. Got a very nice position out of the opening. So, well, Tarrasch players always had enough worries to begin with, but it looks like there's another one to be added to that list. I think my file gives something like knight g4, bishop f4, bishop takes c5, castles here with a white advantage. I should probably show you guys what I'm talking about. That's another beauty of doing it by myself. I might not show you the board. Queen a5, here we go. So I was talking about this move, 6d takes c5 as being interesting, and knight f6 considered to be dubious. d4 is considered to be the main line here. Can I make moves now? We're still in a live game. So this is the position I got. Bishop g2, queen a5. Trying to capture that pawn, but there should be ways to prevent that. a3, for example. a3 looks very tempting. Thinking about a3, knight to e4, then b4, knight takes c3, queen b3, knight takes b4. No, that still works for black. There's other options. Knight d2 looks also tempting. Yeah, I'll play knight d2. Point is, he can't take on c5 because of knight b3, and if d4, I hope I have knight b3. Once again, attacking the queen. And getting material. What's going on? Down again? This is a great pilot project. I'll keep going. Let's see what happens. Obviously, still some serious problems with our streaming setup. Can I click any buttons to make it come live? It says it's running here. Anti-lag feature triggered. Yeah, there might be some lag. Maybe I shouldn't stream to all 5 resolutions. Local recording is complete. Who cares? Ptis, make a move. There we go. d4, knight b3. And we're back again. Okay, yeah, these are some teething problems. We're trying to stream it all from the same computer where my fancy recording software is running and where I'm playing. We used to do it with a different computer. This is a bit of an experiment to see if it works. Looks like it's not working perfectly, to put it mildly. But it also looks like I'm winning a pawn, which makes me happy. I'm not sure though. Queen b4 could get a bit messy. Knight takes d4, rook to d8. I don't know. Queen b4, I can also go a3. And queen c4, knight d4. Then rook d8. Do I have any ways to weasel out there? There's always bishop takes c6. If things get really ugly, that's not a move you necessarily want to play. So let's see how to proceed here. The good thing is Ptis 2 is taking his time. That's always what my mighty rating and Grandmaster title do. People think I'm making a lot of sense, and they do lose on time considering their options. Queen d8, now I think I can just take. Knight takes d4, and I should be 2 pawns up, which is a very good start. Yeah, this looks just winning for white. Not much to do here. I think queen b4 was critical when I believe I'm doing well after knight takes d4, rook d8, but it did look messy. What now? We're down again. This is all a mess. What is going on? It says I lost internet connection, but I'm playing. How can you lose the internet connection? I'm obviously online. Anti-lag feature triggered. Remove delay to the user. Man, a lot of confusing messages this live stream guy is giving me. The position is totally winning because I am 3 pawns up and threatening c7. So Ptis 2 is in trouble, and knight to d5. I'll chop that off. Bishop takes, bishop a7 or c7. I'm not sure. No, I like bishop a7. Yeah, this is kind of hopeless for black. Rook b7 is the only move. But after a cb, bishop b7, I am like, I don't know, an exchange and 3 pawns up, which should do the trick. And Ptis 2, or Ptis 2, I think it's Ptis 2, resigned. Good game, Ptis 2, but yeah, this dc5 is a tricky line. You have to look it up. Let's try to find another game. People say Banter Blitz while commentating through the chat is a lot harder. No, I'd like to do that. Oof, I got a very tough opponent, it seems like. Mr. Naudlentius, 2516. Not the right time to go e4, so I'll stick to my guns and play d4. d5, c4. Let's see what he's up to. 2500, that's serious. I'm scared. I'm always scared. We're playing the main line of the Slav dc4, a4. I tend to avoid this stuff more often than not, because I never know what to do here. Both e3 and knight e5 I think are interesting and give white some chances for an opening advantage. But this is a structure I've never really had a good feel for. I kind of know the theory. You go queen e2, then you go e4, and then you're supposed to be slightly better, but it's not easy. All of this is well-known stuff. Bishop h5. Problem is I always forget everything. You go e5, knight d5, takes, and here queen e3. I believe this is the main line. When black has a couple moves, bishop g6 being one of them. What did I want to do here? All of this is theory, as we can also see by Naudlentjes blitzing out all his moves. Knight g5 here was an option. I remember bishop d2 was tempting in some line. I'm not sure this is the position actually. But let's see what happens. Black has good pieces left, but his pawn structure is slightly weakened, and I think I concluded, once again, I'm not quite sure it was here, that I liked one of these lines a bit better for white. My knight on f3 is not doing all that much. Yeah, he regroups his knight, which is a logical idea in these positions, to c6. I should try to get my knight going as well. But for now I'll go queen b3, attacking b7, and maybe intending to play bishop b4, exchanging bishops. I was slightly curious if knight f3 could ever be a concern after, let's say, bishop b4 here. But it doesn't look like. Is queen b5 a problem? Queen b5 is a problem. Yep. We don't want that, so I have to proceed more slowly. I'll go bishop e3, knight e1, knight d3, stuff like that. I believe white is slightly better, but I could be wrong about this. These positions are pretty hard to understand. Bishop d8, let's go queen a4, does that work? Bishop a5, rook c6. Not sure that works. Might have to go here. I don't want to. And I'm also playing slowly. This is a 3-minute game, so I might have to speed up a little bit and do a little less commentary, because my opponent is playing extremely quickly and I have to kind of try to not get too behind on the clock, which I managed by blundering the house with b4. Man, that was bad. Also not that hard to see, really. b4, knight b4. Yeah, after all these deep strategic thoughts, I blundered pawn in one move, which kind of changes the equation a little bit. Now I'm just fighting for survival, and probably not successfully, because this guy's quick too. I think I have to go for the ending and hope for the best here after queen b5. How's the pawn ending? Bishop d2, takes. I can't count. Let's find out. Could be some mutual Zugzwang situation after takes, king e7. Yeah, he doesn't take. I think he shouldn't take. I should try to claim some space on the king side. Not quite sure how. Yeah, draw is the best I can hope for in this situation, so locking up the king side is probably a good idea. Go h4 next, and it looks like I should be able to hold it. However, there's also the clock situation, but I think objectively this position should be drawn. Oh, he came up with a good plan, which of course I managed to miss as well. So I'm going to lose the a5 pawn, and then it's probably no longer drawn. No, I'm losing. Not sure why he went there and not to e1. But it doesn't really matter all that much. Yeah, I'm lost. Good game by Naudlentjes, which, yeah, I kind of ruined by blundering the b4 pawn in one move, and I think I'll resign here. I'm way down on the clock. Yeah, you shouldn't blunder pawns in one move. I'm really not playing well. I used to be good at this stuff. Anyway, more self-loathing to follow in a minute. Congratulations, Mr. Naudlentjes, and let's play another tough opponent to see if we can win one game, Mr. Chess Ude 98. Chess Ude, is that the name? From Norway. I always lose to Norwegians too. I managed to lose to, I think, Discover Chess in the last session. Got crushed. Rock Howie says I have a plus score against Caruana. No, I don't. I beat him once, he beat me twice, so I have 1 out of 3. And the one time I did beat him, he was like 16 years old. I'll still brag about it, of course. I also beat Nakamura once. Against him I have a plus score out of 1 game. But most good players, or most better players than me, have a plus score against me, because they're better players. Come on, Chess Ude. Show up. I'm bloodthirsty. I need to prove myself. Looks like Chess Ude is not around. Once again, we'll count till 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. No, he's not there. Let's find someone else. Challenges. Can't win them all, indeed. Peter ST is next on the list. A regular on these shows, I believe. I'm pretty sure I've played Peter before. Are you there? I think we're offline again, so I'll just keep rolling. He plays the Caro-Kann with bishop d3, which is an easy system to play. It's kind of the Queen's Gambit reversed, where it feels like black is white and played the c takes d5 Queen's Gambit exchange line. But it's easy for white to play and to get the pieces out. I've always had a soft spot for the system with Queen c7 and then bishop g4, f3, bishop d7. I think it gives black quite good counter chances. Here bishop f4, e5. And yeah, I like black's position. Knight takes e5. What's gonna happen? Bishop c2, knight f6, just bishop d6 next, and short castles. And black has his isolated pawn, but it is quite well compensated for by the fact that white has weakened his king's position with f3 and the bishop on f4. They don't look very good. Queen e1. So Peter trying to checkmate me by going queen h4 and then checkmating me on h7. I will probably spot that. Knight d4, can I take on f3? I think I can. So I'll do it. Pawn up, that's always good. Rook, queen e2, that invites some more material grabbing, which I don't have to be asked twice normally. Bishop g4. And yeah, things have gone wrong for Peter ST. I have a winning position. Still annoyed I blundered this pawn with b4 in the last game. That's really not that tough to see. Rook on c8 to play b4, knight takes b4. That should not have happened. Then I thought I was holding the ending, but maybe I wasn't after this king b8 stuff. Anyway, talking to myself here. This game I am gonna win because I'm up a lot of material, but I still feel bad. Tempted to go rook a8, yeah, I think I will. Knight takes h2, rook e1, knight f1, queen f4, and it looked winning. Knight d2 now. I'll keep this bishop in the game. The one thing I shouldn't do is move this knight away and run into queen h7 mate. I'll still move it away, but hopefully in a way that I block the mate. Yeah, it's not that much to say. The black position is totally winning, but I still have to be a bit careful, which I will try to eliminate the need for care by picking up his queen. Sorry, Peter ST, things went wrong quickly after knight d4. I think white is in serious trouble. Let's go find another game. Challenges. Who's next? French FTW. Where's French? Here we are. Another very strong player. Now that's good. I want to try to beat one strong player in this show. Let's see if I manage. French FTW from Germany, 2478. Still seems to be a fan of the French defense, or the French people, or both. French for the win. I think that's probably a fan of the French defense, also indicated by his first move, e6. But I won't be baited. I'll go c4, knight f6, and knight f3, as they do nowadays. I made a video series on knight c3 and queen c2, the Nimzo. The fashion at top level seems to be to go for this position every game. Today we've had this Grishu Caruana, where after bishop e7, bishop g5, h6, bishop f4 was played. And French FTW plays a Vienna, which is an opening I also have a bit of a soft spot for. And for entertainment purposes, I will play this funny line with bishop takes c4, sacrificing a central pawn, which is all the rage recently. Doesn't want it though, he goes c5. Not a move I'm familiar with. Oh, castle. e5 also looked like a decent move, but castle can't be too bad. Now taking this pawn, now with let's say cd, knight d4, bishop c3 looks extremely risky, bc, knight e4, queen g4 for example. And if he doesn't take it, he has the slight headache that e5 is looming. So I think the opening has gone well for me. I think if the bishop takes c4, black shouldn't play c5, but go knight takes e4. Maybe he was expecting me to go bishop g5 and he pre-moved this c5 thing. But now it could end up being dangerous. If the knight takes e4, there's many tempting moves, but I think queen g4 is the most clear-cut. This is a position where a computer will just give white an edge after any move, rook e1, bishop a3, you name them. But for us puny humans, it's a bit more tricky. He castles, I'll go e5, try to install this outpost on, what's the square called? On e5, and then build up a kingside attack. There's also some bishop takes e6 ideas in the position, but I'm not that tempted by them yet. After fe6 there, it didn't look all that promising. But this position looks quite nice for white to me. I have the two bishops, I have a space advantage, I have easy development with queen h5 or queen g4, then putting the rooks into the center, maybe trying some rook lifts, rook e3, rook g3 later. So I quite like it. I'm not sure what black should do. He goes a6, trying to get some pieces out, which is sensible enough. But the black position is very, very dangerous. And as I said, easy to play for me. Rook d1, if he goes b5 or queen c7, I'll threaten checkmate on h7. Knight f8. Do I have to defend the c3 pawn? Not sure I have to. But I will, because I like material. Nah, that looks a bit... terrible attacking player. I should know what I'm doing here. Knight f3 is interesting too. Queen c3, knight g5. Yeah, I think I'll do that. That actually looks quite tempting. Trying to use the knight, which looked nice on d4, but it didn't do all that much. Knight g5, he still has h6, but I can take my time, go rook e1 first. Then at some point I want to go knight g5, h6, knight e4. Increasing the pressure. French FTW plays like a true French player. Very defensive, maneuvering in his own ranks, and I hope I can punish him for that. However, black is still reasonably solid, it has to be admitted. It's not going to be so easy to break through, even though his pieces do not have a lot of scope. He can take on c3, but that's not that important a pawn. Can go knight e4, knight d6, or try to think of something better. Bishop d7 is more sensible, trying to develop some pieces. And I have to think about bringing in fresh resources. Now, I'll put this knight on d6 for starters. That should be plenty unpleasant for black. Bishop c6, knight d6. Maybe he's going to go bishop a4, attack my rook, but that also doesn't hurt me that much. So yeah, my position is nice, but the finish still has to be found. There's some knight f6 check ideas in the position as well. When after g, f, e, f, I could be quick with queen h6, queen g7, checkmate. Not anymore after queen a5, obviously. So I will... what will I do? I'll go knight d6 as intended. For rook d8, I have this knight takes b7 fork. Maybe he's going to go rook e7, but that also looks clumsy. Or rook b8, yeah, that's possible. Let's attack something, so we don't have to think. I'm going to go queen f3, attacking this sensitive f7 spot. Probably black's going to go bishop e8. Yeah, that's the style he's been playing, and also probably the best move in fairness. And I think I'll try to gain some more space with h4. Queen c3 doesn't work because of h5, and queen takes a2 is possible, but it's kind of a hot pawn to take, and then I would go h5, h6, try to, yeah, put some more pressure. I have other options. I can always go bishop e4 and try to cash in here on the queen side as well. But I like this h4, h5 idea. The knight retreats voluntarily, fair enough. Yeah, maybe this is a good time to go bishop e4. Just to scare him with some bishop takes b7 ideas. Which I might actually do, but it feels like cashing in too quickly to try to grab something here. Knight d5, what's the idea? c4, knight c3. Guess so. Does that work? Not sure this move is very much in the spirit, but I didn't want to allow c4, knight c3. So I'll go here. If he goes queen takes a2, then I'll play c4. When the knight is to go somewhere else than c3, and then I can either take on b7 or proceed with my attacking plans. He goes queen a3, stopping c4 for the moment. Doesn't really stop c4. c4 is still very good. But to keep it a bit more exciting, I'll go h5. Yeah, that's the end of the excitement. Now I'll go c4, since my plan to push the pawn further has been discouraged. I think I'll take with the pawn actually, because I want this bishop to stay on e4 to control the d3 square. But yeah, I didn't get the max out of this position. That's, yeah, I should have checkmated him, not hunting for some small material gains here. Knight d3 was a mistake. He had to play rook a7, because now after rook takes b7, I go bishop e4 back and I'm winning. So I won against French for the win, who, yeah, I think after bishop takes c4, black just has to take that pawn. It was a bit passive to play c5, and he ended up in an unpleasant position quite quickly. Let's play one more game, then let's do our usual apology tour for the technical problems. They're all on me. I tried to do the show all by myself today, and I'm not quite sure. There's obviously some stuff with my pronunciation to sort out. We'll get to that in a minute after playing Mr. Lukas Ran, another guy from Norway. I'm following my good old system, which I have no idea if it's fair or not. I just accept the challenges from the bottom, which I think is the guys who challenged first. They show up on the bottom of my list. And Lukas Ran plays the Trompovsky, which is not a bad opening. I've played quite a bit of Trompovsky myself. I think we have a video series out by Lawrence Trent about it. c4, this is one of the lines I always forget everything about. What am I supposed to do here? I think takes. And I can never remember the theory, that's the problem. e3, and there were some sharp lines with c5 and queen b6. What was it? Is b5 an option here? Can't remember, it's sad. I'll play c5. c5 looks logical enough. Knight c3. Yeah, I'm going to have to brush up on my Trompovsky. Maybe I'm going to have to watch Lawrence's series to learn some tricks. that would be like hitting rock bottom, but no, honestly, I think it's a good series. I've seen this before, knight c6, d5, knight e5, and then something like f4 or bishop takes c4, followed by queen a4 check. But I can't remember the verdict. I'm not sure if knight c6 was the way to go, or if queen b6 here. So many sidelines out there. But in general, I've always believed that after 2d5, white doesn't have an advantage, and that black gets a decent position by playing that very sober move. Knight f3, I'm going to pin, still intending to go d5, knight e5. I'm expecting bishop c4 when I'm still contemplating if I want to go bishop f3 and then queen takes d4, or if that's a bit too much. Is it too much? It feels like it could be a bit too much. What else can I do? I can go e6, then d5 is a bit annoying maybe. ed. Okay, let's be brave and grab the pawn. See what happens. It's expecting bishop b5 when I want to do something like queen e5 check, which is a bit inconvenient for him because he can't go knight e2 since the bishop would be hanging. But it feels like white has a lot of compensation here, honestly, and I'm going to have to be very accurate not to get crushed. Oh, livestream says perfect streaming for a change. That's beautiful. Why can't it say that all the time? Livestream, why are you making my life so hard? Lucas Wren. Knight b5, is he considering that? No, he goes bishop b5, which I also thought was the main move, and I was hoping this move would throw a spanner in the works because he doesn't want to exchange queens. He can't move the knight, and king f1 is not very tempting either. Probably it's the best shot. But yeah, I think this move is annoying for him. Or bishop e2. But then also knight d4 is coming, and it's not very active in general. So now I'm quite optimistic about my chances again. What can I do here? King d2 or king d1 are out of the question. King f1. I would just go rook c8. Maybe that's the best decision. Just get the queens off the board and play this, where black has to be fine, but I'm not sure how serious my advantage is. Could go f5, then he would go knight c5, I guess. Bishop g7, knight b7, that's nothing special. Let's start with rook c8, just to fortify this. Still not so easy what to do next. At some point I will have to chase the knight away with f5, and there will always be knight to c5. Maybe white does have full compensation. I'll resort to goofy moves like bishop h6, trying to win some time for development by attacking this rook. And now, next move, I can castle, hopefully. Yeah, this looks decent. Come on, live stream, stop troubling me. Tells me perfect streaming, then lost internet connection, delay to the user. It's not fun. Bishop b5 is played here. Sorry, I was typing away in the chat trying to figure out if I was on or not. Oh, knight c5 was played, I'm sorry. Knight d4, yeah. I like my chances. Pawn up, opposite color bishops, but that's not so important since there's still a lot of material left on the board. And as we know, with material, opposite color bishops often actually favor the side with initiative, or yeah, the attacker. And if you're a pawn up, that increases your chances of becoming an attacker, even though it's not so much about the material, but about piece activity. But my pieces are quite active here. White hasn't really managed to get all his reserves into the game. and I think I have a pleasant advantage. Takes. I should at some point put my pawns on light squares, put this formation to e6 and f5 just to restrict his pieces and create space for mine. And that's what I'm gonna do. Now I'm gonna have to decide where to put the rook, c8 or d8. I don't know, could make a case for both, I guess. I think I'll start with bishop g7, just so there's no accidents happening on this diagonal, and then decide what to do with my rook. Also not thrilled by my pawn placement on the queen side. I'd much rather have a6, b5. But that's going to be hard to get in since his bishop controls the diagonal. So I'll just continue slowly, put the rook on c8, maybe bring the king, maybe try to grab some space here. He goes knight b5. I was thinking about that. I thought I could grab another pawn, and we all know I love grabbing pawns. I'm not sure if this is the correct decision. This might be showing misunderstanding of the position. It might have been better to just remove the knight and keep all the pluses of my position, because I'm not sure if this is winning. I do have 2 extra pawns, but his pawn on a2, if he puts it on a4, kind of holds 2 of mine on the queen side, and it's not going to be so easy to break through on the king side, but I will certainly try. Step 1 should be to activate this rook somehow. Bishop b4, rook b7, rook c2. Yeah, it could be an idea. Now rook b6, I wanted to go bishop c5 and then chip away. It's still not the end of the game. First of all, he has this move, and he also had rook b6 and then rook c6. Oof, what was that? That's embarrassing. In my mind, the bishop was on c5 already. I was calculating bishop c5, rook f7, king e5, and then taking. Oh my god, I clearly am not being myself. Now the big question is, do we resign with dignity, or do we try to flag Lucas Wren? And for viewers of the show, well, that makes my choice easier. I was gonna say, you know, that normally I like to flag, and he blundered this pawn back. That's pathetic on both sides. I should not blunder rooks in one move. Oh man. Let's hope the connection was lost for that sequence again, and now people will just see this halfway normal position and think, okay, normal game. We did both blunder a rook, ladies and gentlemen, but don't tell anybody. Can I win this position actually? Should somehow be winning. I'm not sure. Yeah, this has to be winning. I have too many extra pawns, but I did have a rook less at some point. Sorry, Lucas Wren, that was embarrassing, and that's a good note for ending the show on. I won the game after giving a rook in one game. Thanks everybody for watching. Sorry for the technical problems. We'll continue working on improving it, and I'll see you the next time. Maybe I'll do the next show in German. I feel like I'm really struggling finding words for my efforts. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Stay tuned. Follow the FIDE Grand Prix. Sorry for everybody whom I didn't get to play. Today was the day to crush me, as we've seen. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you.